Where'll you be going?
Texas?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Go on, make it happen.
And now here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome from the heart of Dripping Springs. We are Mallet and Michelle, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, the narcissist, and Steve
Hola,
Mallet.
Michelle. How are you?
Steve
The
Mallet.
narcissist. Michelle, the narcissist. Always the center of attention.
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Hey, our guest today is Bill Foulds, the mayor of Dripping Springs, on for the third time.
What?
Yeah.
That's
and we've already
crazy.
recorded his episode, but man, it is chock full of good information about what's happening here in town. I think we peppered him with so many questions and he gave us so much good information.
I like that he had like 4 pages of notes and he had them all laid out on the table and we just kind of ran through them.
I think we covered every single one of them without
And
him
more.
ever even looking at those notes.
If you want to know more about Bill, though, go back to his first episode when we talked about how long he's been here in Dripping
He was
Springs.
episode 14 and 92. Yes. Go ahead.
So you'll find out about his family, what he actually does for a living, because
Yep.
he doesn't get paid to do this.
That's right.
He
Volunteer mayor. Isn't that crazy?
He does this for free.
For
Yeah.
free.
For free. But so go back and listen to those episodes.
And he's a great guy, really a good heart.
He really
and
is.
Wants to serve this community. Got to thank our sponsors.
We
Can't
do.
do the podcast without our sponsors.
No.
Nomic Power Solutions, backup power generation.
Nomic Power Solutions, SouthStar Bank.
We have a new sponsor coming on. We haven't
Absolutely.
done any commercials for him yet, but SouthStar Bank is going to join us
Yes.
in 2025 as a sponsor.
Absolutely.
I'm super excited about that, and we're negotiating with somebody else to
Big.
come on.
Yeah,
a big sponsor.
And
yeah,
Mallet Integrity Team, real estate extraordinaire, wonderful team. I mean, they are just amazing people, the group at Mallet Integrity Team.
Yeah, we are, aren't we? We're
Yes.
pretty good at what
Right.
we do.
That's right. Let me toot my own horn and your
Yeah.
horn and Cedric and Maury and Mally and Ryan. We just have a great team.
Yeah, and it's been we've done really well this last year. It slowed down a little bit the last couple weeks, but since the election, it's actually picked up a little bit. So
I equate real estate this past year to McDonald's and the ice cream machine being down.
being broken.
It's broken right now.
Sometimes you get it, and sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Are you running some marathon or something sweat inducing
I'm
this
gonna run
weekend?
this weekend. I always run on Saturday. I probably do go for a bike ride with Javier on Sunday.
How's your sloth toe? You
Oh,
had
God,
a little
you had to
minor
ask me
surgery.
about that. Yeah, I had one of my toenails permanently removed.
Oh, it's permanent.
Permanent.
I didn't
It'll
know it
never
was
come
permanent.
back. It's pretty
Oh.
ugly too. I looked at it this morning, but
Please tell the story.
I had my doctor, who I love, he's in Bee Cave, Dr. Thomas. He came in and he had an intern with him, this kid that's in medical school, Chen. Nice kid, talked to him for a couple of minutes. And Doc looks at Chen and says, are you okay with a little blood? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. And so, he numbs my toe and he starts with a scalpel, he starts cutting around and there's blood kind of
I
squirting
wish
out
I
a
could
little
have
bit.
been there so
God.
bad. I would have gone.
Well, it's not bothering me at all, but I look over at Chen and he's starting to like wobble a little bit. And the doc saw me looking at him and he's like, oh, Chen, sit down. He almost lost his cookies. And this kid's in med school, little bit of blood from my toe and almost passed out. I felt so bad for him. The doc went out to get him some orange juice and I said, you're going to get used to it. And he looked at me and he said, I'm going to have to.
Oh my!
I'm going to be a doctor.
That's pretty funny. I something like that only one time happened to me. Kendall had broken her arm and they were taking the screws out and they had me hold her elbow.
Yeesh.
And as they were jiggling the screws out, I could feel, what is it called? Crepitus, I think is what it's called. And I could feel it. And I said, do you guys have any candy? And they said, because Kendall's screaming, right? She's like 2 or 3. And they said, "Oh, we'll give her something as soon as we're done." And I said, "Not for
Not
her.
for her, for
and next
me.
thing I was like, "Woo!"
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I was getting smelling salts.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me at all. I was kind of wondering what's the difference between somebody that is bothered by that stuff and somebody that's not.
I'm not bothered by it normally, like if it's happening to me, but I guess probably because it's your senses are overload. So you were numbed up though, right?
My toe is numbed up, but I was watching it. I mean,
Was that your gripper toe? Was it the toe you climb up the trees with?
Yes,
or was it...
yes. It's my second gripper sloth toe.
How are you?
Well, that's why I had it removed because it looked a little like a claw. It was painful all the time. So it's a running injury. I lost it about 10 years ago, and after running a 50-mile race, and when it grew back, it came back really ugly. Oh, I just reminded her of something she's going to write down. This
One
is
other
terrible.
thing, lose toenail. It's another reason why not to run. I'm going to just write it. So I actually
What are you going to do this weekend?
Well, tonight I am watching, and I know you're not a big boxing fan.
I might watch it.
But I'm watching the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight, which, Mike Tyson is 58 years old, and this little pipsqueak, Jake Paul, he's a former YouTuber, Disney. He's 27 years old. It's happening in Arlington.
Is he a boxer, though?
So he was, I think, in MMA, but this is happening in Texas. They're in Texas.
I think it is in Arlington.
Yeah, Dallas or Texas Stadium. He started out on TikTok and YouTube doing these little dances and stuff, but he in MMA and he's been training. But this kid, okay, so yesterday apparently he stepped on. When they were doing their final weigh-in, he stepped on Tyson's foot, and Tyson slapped the living bejesus out of him, which was Mike Tyson. I hope chews him up, spits him out.
I'm going to make a prediction, and we'll talk next week and see. I think Mike Tyson is going to beat the holy hell out of him. Because Mike Tyson is a freaking beast.
So the announcer that was interviewing them, I saw an interview this morning with him, and he said, I'm interviewing the man, and I have never, ever seen a look in another boxer's face. He goes, he scared me to death looking at me.
I think Mike Tyson in the ring would go to within an inch of being dead to win a fight. There's no holding back in that man.
He is a beast. So we'll know by the time this comes out on Tuesday, we'll know what happened, unless the fight gets thrown because they're getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. But man, I'm looking forward to this.
I might watch it just to see it. And you know what? It may not even go a round or two. But
when Tyson fought Holyfield, the famous ear biting incident, Todd and I were poor. We'd just become parents. Logan was little, teeny tiny, and we bought the fight on pay-per-view, and we had our neighbors come over, and what was it? Like within the first 5 minutes or whatever that happened, we're like, why did we do this? Why did we spend $75 or however much it was to watch that fight? But it's on Netflix tonight.
Do you have to pay extra for it on Netflix?
I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't know. We're spending our kids' retirement now anyway, so we're so.
You know what? We're not a political show, but we had a big election last week, and I don't want to talk politics right today, but Jake Paul endorsed President Trump, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, he did. He came out and endorsed President Trump. So I had a couple takeaways from the election.
So did Sylvester Stallone.
What? Yeah, I know. Well,
Rocky.
Yeah, it was. I have two things that my takeaways from the election. One of them was celebrity endorsements, which have always been pretty good in the past, were kind of a mixed bag in this election cycle. Some of them helped the candidates, and some of them I actually think hurt the candidates.
I think the bigger picture is nobody cares what Hollywood thinks anymore.
That's not my second takeaway, but piggybacking on it, you are exactly right. I think most people right now think the celebrities that get up that endorse people, they get something out of it, whether it's pay or some kind of political capital.
They've been paid. That Call Me Daddy podcast, they were paid.
Yeah, but the point of that is, most people now just do not care. Celebrities getting up there probably hurts more than helps.
Yeah, I mean. You and I had talked about this right after the election. There was a big spotlight on the alternative media outlet and the legacy media, how people have lost a lot of trust in that sense. And believe it or not, podcasts are the up and coming news source for people because they want real, I've used this word is kind of so overused, but authentic voices now where your news isn't being filtered through some media Soros or what's the other one that owns Fox News? I can't think of his name right now. Totally escaped me.
Murdoch?
Murdoch. Voice. They don't want the corporate voice in there. They don't want the Procter and Gamble filtering their news source.
And I think a lot of people woke up this election cycle to the gaslighting that's been happening in this country on a number of different levels. My second big takeaway was the alternate or the rise of alternate media and the legacy media or fake news media or whatever you want to call it now is dead. That's just completely dead. They have no weight anymore. Nobody looks to them to see what they say. They're obviously all opinionated on both sides. Everything is filtered through what pushes my agenda.
You know who had the highest or one of the highest watches on election night? And he actually helped win the election was Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk live stream. It was that particular demographic. I think CNN had a little over 500,000 views on that night. But
500,000 views on a national news network on an election night. I mean, a couple years ago, you came in the office. And you said, I had the weirdest dream about you last night. I had a dream that you died and I was in here and I was so sad and you came into work and you sat in your chair. I feel like that's the legacy media now. They are dead. The nails are in the coffin and they just don't know it yet. They still have not woken up to the fact that whole business model is gone.
I agree. And I think, Steve, we've talked about this before, but my biggest takeaway from all of this is, look, whether or not you're on the right, left, middle, up, down, whatever, the fact of the matter is that we're all in the same race, the human race, and we need to be respectful.
Agreed.
And I talked about this to you privately, and I was saying, it was kind of watching some of these videos of people losing their marbles, for whatever reason or the other. And instead of me this cycle making light of it, I actually felt sad.
It's sad.
I felt sad because there's so much misinformation on either side, and we need to get back to some common ground and human decency.
Yes.
Period. I got flipped the heck off and tried to be run off the road
because of a bumper
the
sticker
other day. Run off the road. Somebody was willing to risk my life and their life because come on, people.
And we've talked about it a lot on our podcast, though, local issues, right? So people are getting all up in arms about something that might happen in the future that probably will not. But take care of your neighbors. Doesn't matter what their political view is. Take care of your neighbors. Be nice to your friends. Be nice to your neighbors. You know what? Invite your family over to Thanksgiving, regardless of how they voted. That
Break
whole
bread.
trend that was lasted for about a week is, avoid the people you work with that might have voted differently, or don't invite your family over to dinner. That is just ridiculous. And anybody that spouted that out should not be on anywhere in the media. That is just, they should not have a platform. And I'm not saying they should be censored. I'm just saying that those people, that's idiotic to say that. It's anti-American to say avoid the people that don't necessarily agree with you 100% of the time.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I agree, and I think it's exciting and beautiful in the sense that we live in this small community that is growing. Yeah. And I'm going to go back to what one of our former guests, Tucker Max, said, is that when the world is burning outside, the people that you should care most about are your family and your community. And
your little small community, the people you run
go
into
out
every
and
day.
do that.
So love your neighbors, folks.
Yeah,
love your neighbors.
Don't be a jerk and flip me off because guess what? I may just flip you right back off.
I'm sure you did. So
I didn't. I waved at them.
Well, that's what you should do. Actually, I hate to say it, most of the time when somebody's that mad at you, if you smile and wave at them, it actually makes it worse.
Well, you know what? I told you my new favorite things to say is, you sound fun. Or, Yeah. So I'm trying. I'm a work in progress. You know, I always am. I try every day. I may fail, and every day I tried my hardest.
Try to do a little bit better.
Yes.
That's what
try
I do
a little bit
too.
better.
Well, from that heavy subject, I have one that's not so heavy, but I've been holding on to this one for a couple weeks. Does everything in your blue bin really get recycled? This is talking about recycling. And have you ever thought about, you throw all that plastic stuff in your recycling bin, how much of it actually gets recycled?
I actually watched, what was it, Mike Rowe?
Mike Rowe.
I watched one of his Dirty Job episodes of the recycling. And from that moment, okay, in our family, I think Sierra's watching. We have a song that we sing in our family, and it's based on a really.
Is it appropriate for?
It is, and it's called and it's awful out of tune. It's like recycling. It's based on this. And
how does it go?
Recycling. And I will eventually play the original song, and you'll know why we sing it. But I realize that it's such a big. It's a what is the word? It's a farce.
Well, it is and it isn't. Okay, so you put plastic, you put paper, you put glass in your recycling, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
13.6% of the plastic gets recycled.
How much?
13.6%. 81% of the paper and cardboard gets recycled. So paper and cardboard's pretty good.
Okay.
Glass is 31%. The rest of that stuff that you put in your bin either gets incinerated or goes in a landfill.
What is the rest of the stuff?
So the plastic that you put in there, there's 7 different categories of plastic resins. Only really 2 of them get recycled.
So like aluminum?
Aluminum gets this. This story didn't cover aluminum, but I think most aluminum will get recycled. I think that's pretty easy.
Did you ever go search for cans when you were a kid and go get money?
Yeah,
oh man, I used to make some money, like $3. I was rich.
Yeah, that's right. So I don't want to get too technical in there, but there's 7 categories of plastic resins, and the little numbers on the bottom of the bottles, that the little triangle thing. Well, that'll tell you if it'll be recycled or not. Well, that's styrofoam.
But there's a recycle.
Is there
thing.
recycle?
Recycle. And it says
what's the number?
6.
6. That's not going to be recycled.
It says 6P5.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
That one will not be recycled.
So then why do they even allow it to go in there? Why do they even
because it's trying to tell you don't put that in recycling. It's a styrofoam cup.
But wait a minute. It has the recycle triangle with the little arrows.
That doesn't mean it's recyclable.
Well, wait, that's BS. Don't put the...
No, because it's telling you that particular one, even though it's some kind of plastic, is not going to be recycled.
It'd be like saying, that stop sign right there is a stop sign, but that stop sign...
But not in particular situations.
That's confusing.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't make up the rules for this.
That's stupid.
It used to be that China used to up until 2018, they took all of our recycling and recycled a lot of it, but they stopped doing it in 2018.
They took our recycling and recycled it?
Well, and actually processed it and made it into other things. So 10 states now have a deposit charge on glass containers. How do you feel about that? You go buy a Topo Chico, and there's a 10-cent deposit on it? This
yummy chocolate milk that I buy at HEB, and it comes in these bougie glass jars, and you can, it has like a recycling or like a deposit, and then you go return them, which I always forget to, and you get like 50 cents back. Mm-hmm. But it's really good chocolate milk.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen this milk?
No.
It's at HEB. It looks like an old time.
I can't drink milk. I have the stomach of a 90-year-old man.
It looks like an old-timey milk jar,
like a
milk container.
Carton, or milk jar.
No, milk container,
Milk bottle,
Sorry.
which could be recycled. So to wrap up my story, 73% of Americans have access to recycling. That doesn't mean that all that stuff's being recycled. And so my last thing, the other night I had a can of soup, and it's an aluminum can, right? And so I dump the soup in the bowl, and I have the can, and I'm like, okay, well, I got to wash this out. And so I turn on the sink and I start washing it out. I'm like, okay, well, I'm wasting like a gallon of water to wash this can. So what's better for the environment, for me to throw this away and leave it dirty, or wash it? As like I had this whole mind blow. like what's going to be better for the environment.
You know why? That's a good lead into my story because I'm going to raise your can of soup and I'm going to talk
Campbell's
about
soup.
I talked about
good.
this a couple of months ago, how Michelin was in the Michelin star rating was actually in Austin. And they were rating secretly, obviously. They were secretly rating restaurants and whatever. And 45 restaurants in Austin are now on the list.
Get out of here.
45. We have beaten Dallas, Texas. Thank you very
Really?
much.
I
Yes.
did not know that.
But it ranges from recommended. So it's not all of them are one star, right?
So
It's
is
1, 2, or 3 is like the Michelin star rating. And then there's
three like the best
Three is the
restaurant?
best.
Okay.
And it's recommended, the Bib Gourmand, and then there's a green star. Like the Bib Gourmand, I think is like more of the economical, like three course kind of thing.
Okay.
But so many of these restaurants, but it's surprisingly to me, and I think a lot of people were surprised, there are so many barbecue restaurants that are on this list. I have it up on our.
Oh, you got the Michelin.
I
guy.
have. This is from Austin. I have eaten at a couple of these. I've eaten at Terry Black's. Terry Black's got like one of those recommended. So like this is like there's a check mark. So you can go to guidemichelin.com and then just look up Austin, Texas, and you'll have a lot of them. Like Elmer. So you see this little guy that looks like it's the.
Oh,
The
okay.
Michelin
yeah,
Man?
the Michelin Man.
Okay,
yeah.
well, they call him I think in Europe or something, they call him Bib, and this little green is the green star. And so this is like this is Elmer and Rye. This is more economical.
Okay. I'm looking. I've been to
Duck.
Terry Black's.
Have you been to
I've
Odd
been
Duck?
to Franklin. I have
Have
not
you been to Franklin?
I have,
You've
yeah.
waited in line at
I
Franklin?
did a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
I have.
That's
I don't.
Jeffries. I've been to
never
Jeffries.
been to Jeffries.
Apartment 15. I want to go eat there.
Laundrette. I wanted to go there, but we didn't go.
I was surprised Red Ash didn't make it. I'm going to Red Ash in a couple of weeks.
Joe's Bakery and Coffee Shop.
La Barbecue is huge. People.
There's a lot of barbecue.
Interstellar Barbecue is one of the ones. Franklin got on there, but he wasn't a star. He was a Bib or a recommended. I can't remember. I already
Daidu?
passed it. I've been here, Kimura, Tazatsi. I've been to Birdie's. Let's see.
Man, I need to get out more.
I know.
Often,
Well, hello, you and your can of soup. Oops.
I think I've been to 3 on that whole list of 44.
The thing is, Steve, they actually serve food at these things. Okay, so they
okay.
serve actual.
Yeah, and my 90-year-old man stomach doesn't
they
work
serve
with
food.
that. Yeah.
I told you that when I went to Mexico this past summer, Todd and I ate at a Michelin star restaurant, and I have never eaten so much food
You
in my
showed me
entire
some
life.
videos of that. I was like, man, that's just too much work for food. I
Well-
just want to sit down and gobble it and go.
I eat sometimes. We've determined that it has something to do with the nerve issue that I have. But when I eat, my nose gets stuffy, and I was like eating the food like this, and it was so good. But I couldn't.
Oh, that just sounds wonderful. Sign me up.
No, but in our bill was like $400 for both of us. But yeah,
Jeez.
I say this is amazing. I'm excited. But I wanted to tell you
Austin's a
that
foodie town.
people were fuming mad that one place in Austin did not get on the list. And I'm telling you, there was a
Jack
revolt.
Allen's.
No, not Jack Allen's. No, it's even better than Jack Allen's. And I don't know if you've ever been there before. It is superb meal. Like just sit down from the moment you sit down to the moment you leave. And it is the Chili's on North Lamar.
Get out of here.
I swear to God. I swear to God. And
There is no Chili's in the entire world on the Michelin restaurant.
people in Austin are
guy.
like, they could not believe if you look at it
Jeez,
trending.
welcome to Austin.
Yes, the Chili's on North Lamar did not get a Michelin star or any type of Michelin rating, but go support your local Chili's because you want to talk about how social media and podcasts and things like that, mozzarella sticks, the marketing, actually the revenue for Chili's this past quarter, one social media influencer did a post on eating mozzarella sticks and their percentage, this was a total organic post, right? Chili's stock or revenue
Oh my God.
skyrocketed, and they go and
That's all it takes, folks. One viral video and you're a success.
Exactly
You're
right.
jetting with the millionaires,
we had
billionaires.
I just scheduled a guest for next year, and he says, what is it that I can say or do that's going to make me go viral where I can quit my day job? And my response was, how are your feet? That was it.
And mine are bad.
And okay,
So we are going to take a little break and get our special guest in here, Bill Foulds. So everybody that's listening, sit tight. We'll be right back with Bill Foulds, the mayor of Dripping Springs.
Are you tired of being left in the dark when the power goes out? Say goodbye to blackouts with Nomic Power Solutions.
As your full-service Generac dealer, they offer individually designed backup power solutions.
From start to finish, they've got you covered.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Nomic Power Solutions. Protect your home, protect your family, stay ready. Proudly sponsored by
At Capital Farm Credit, they understand that owning land is more than just a transaction. It's a legacy, a future, and a place to call your own.
For generations, Capital Farm Credit has been the trusted lending partner for land loans, farmers, ranchers, and rural dreamers just like you.
Their personalized loan solutions cater to your unique needs, making the journey to land ownership smoother than ever.
Capital Farm Credit, your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Mallet Integrity Team of real estate professionals. They are based in Dripping Springs and bring you over 45 years of combined experience helping people reach their hill country real estate dreams. When you want the best in town, call them at 512-829-2062 or look them up at malletintegrityteam.com. And now, here's Steve and Michelle.
And welcome back. We're here with Mayor Bill Foulds. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Michelle.
Yeah.
And y'all have been great to me, so
Well, I appreciate
appreciate
that.
it, Steve.
Yeah, you. This is your third time. You have visited with us more than anybody else. So
That's
episode
right.
151, and you're back again. So
151 episodes. Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy?
you were on episode 14 and episode 92. So the listeners can go back if they want to hear. We talked a little bit about like where you grew up and what you do and all that. But today we're just going to talk about what's going on at the city.
City business. I also reached out to the community, and I have a couple of questions, and I'll let Steve I'll just pepper those in with what you guys
Yeah.
are talking about. And I understand also you're going to give us an update on the lawsuit in regards to the water, right? So is there some
Wastewater.
wastewater.
Yeah, let's get to that in a minute. I want you to start off, Bill, with what's the current state of the city of Dripping Springs?
The city is doing great. We've got so many volunteers working on different commissions and boards that have been working with us and have given us advice. We're in the process of wrapping up our comprehensive plan. It was a much longer process than what we anticipated. We went through some labor shortages and changes of employment and took a little longer, but now we've got the draft of it, and we're just starting to look into it a little deeper and get it organized into a published document that we can start using as some guidance. So from that perspective, the city's doing great. We're seeing a much more stable employment, so we have some consistency in our employment. We've added on inspectors in different departments. Our parks department has grown, and we're starting to maintain parks better. We got through the Rob Shelton problems with that closure, and still always have those. So we're working through them.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun watching that on the social media pages.
Yes.
One of my questions was, what are you taking the most heat for these days? I bet you that's one of them.
Traffic is always number one.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of depressing because I see it on social media, I hear it from everybody, and then I go home at night.
Yeah.
Hear it again.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, it's the number one topic of conversation. But so as far as the finances at the city, plenty of money, tax money's coming in, and everything's going well. Your challenges are keeping employees there, and because I know that cities just go through, they steal each other's employees all the time. What are the struggles at the city right now?
It's, even though we are doing well with stable employment, we still have positions that have been empty for over a year.
Yeah.
And we can't fill them. And
really?
we're looking for professional staff. There you go.
That's right. Yeah. Right.
If this whole real estate thing doesn't work
That's
out.
right.
That's right. So,
For sure.
I'm not sure we could do. I don't think you'd hire us, Bill. We're a little too crazy.
Actually, I told somebody yesterday that I was going to start working the lights over here and jumping on people's cars and cleaning their windshields.
Oh yeah,
I was going to be that
they
person.
give you $5 just to stop.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I want to kind of go through. You talked about the comprehensive plan, so that is available for the public to see now, right?
it is available in a draft form.
Right.
And that's what
draft,
people need to remember. It is a draft, and it's going to go back to each of the committees or commissions to start tweaking it a little bit. Mm-hmm. We want to keep the main ideas of over 1,200 people that responded to make sure we reflect those beliefs. But then there's some things just from being on commissions, as Steve, you are, that you have another idea about possibly. And so we want to come back to y'all and make sure that we're getting that feedback that we need and incorporate it all into the plan.
Yeah, at that I got invited to do that workshop with y'all. Was it last week? Where they kind of presented the draft, and there were a couple of things you pushed back on. One was density, I think, and the other one was heights in the city limits. That they were included in there as recommendations going forward.
Yep, they were is some of the densities and building height, and that was something 4 years ago, we really struggled with on council with all of these smaller homes and when is enough, and we love our neighbors in Big Sky and all of these new subdivisions, and apartments are fantastic. We've got to have that available to people, but when do we have enough? And this draft plan seemed to promote more, or maybe not promote, but said there's room for more. Yeah. And I want to drill into that a little deeper before I agree that that's what we need.
Well,
and that's what our citizens want.
Yeah. The thing that kind of got me was that, if I understood it correctly, I'm just moving that a little closer to you. They were talking about doing something similar to what just passed in Austin, which is the ADU, where you could have multiple dwellings on a single family
which
lot,
a lot of people
Wasn't
are complaining about in Austin.
But that was it was a part of the draft, so it's not included in the. It may or may not be included in the final plan, but I think that would be bad for Dripping Springs. I don't know if people had said that they would want that.
And I agree. I'm very fortunate. I moved out here 30 years ago, and I have a couple of acres of land, and I have room to build an ADU, but I don't believe I should be entitled to put a 2,000 square foot ADU on a single family residential lot. And so we really have tweaked those ordinances so they have to sit back a little bit, and they can't be larger than the existing home. And there's different things, and yet this kind of implied we need to have more of them.
Yeah.
And it's got to really be on the appropriate size lot. And even in the neighborhood, there's 35 lots, I think, in our neighborhood. And when we purchased our home, we expected to have about 35 houses, a couple of cars at each house. And now we've got multiple homes with ADUs, and this is in every subdivision with the larger lots. And all of a sudden you've got 70 cars instead of 35. And that's not why we moved, and that's the culture of that neighborhood, of every neighborhood. So we're going to be careful and look at that carefully.
I have a question. Do you think at any time the city is going to have any type of restrictions on short-term rentals or like Airbnb, VRBO properties?
Please say no. Please say no.
It's something that's been discussed. Excuse me. It's been discussed, and I see that there may be a need for some restrictions. That being said, the legislature doesn't give us the authority to do any type of really regulations on it. and it's not something that we want to just take on as a battle. As long as we're not getting complaints and people are well behaved, it's not like a rental down by campus in Austin where you have people partying all weekend and things like
students,
that.
Yeah.
Well, you are also getting tax revenue because these STRs are getting the hotel
7% tax, which goes to the tourism fund, right? Go ahead.
It goes to several different groups.
Does it?
It helps fund the Visitors Bureau.
Yep.
And TERS is a different tax setup. It depends on where the home is located and things such as that. And it's a dedicated portion of the tax. But the hotel tax is definitely good. The other side of that coin is when you're renting one of these, are they registered? Does the city even know it? Or the people collecting the tax and things such as that? And we have one person that's trying to ferret out all of these different to see if they're in our area or not in our area. And so it creates some problems, but it's a good thing to have. We don't have enough hotel space and
I think it lends to the charm of Dripping Springs too. I think being able to stay maybe in the historic district and kind of being able to walk to what is the best part of downtown Dripping Springs and have the tourism.
And those people come into town and they spend money at all the little small businesses here.
Yep.
It's tourism money. I mean, not only the 7% tax, but I have an Airbnb, and this weekend they went to Time and Doe, and they went to Mazama, and they went to Pigpen, and they spent money there, and that all is good for the city.
Generates a lot of income for the city, residual income, I guess. And we've worked on that with our sidewalk projects to try to get sidewalks connecting more to downtown and things like that. And we all see the tourist bus that are here every weekend for the weddings.
Yeah.
Those people don't have cars, so they want to be down in this central area.
Yeah, my wedding party, not my personal wedding, my kid's wedding party, learned very quickly that there's really no such thing as an Uber in downtown Dripping Springs and getting to things. And so they got here and they're like, how are we getting around?
Yeah. So, I think we talked about this in previous episodes. Has there been any further discussion about having some kind of walkway that goes across 290 from the north side to the south side and vice versa, besides the light at Ranch Road 12?
I had one developer who's currently working on a project who wants to, and I don't know if they're still exploring it, but actually brought up trying to go over 290.
Yeah.
The logistics of that's pretty difficult to get it high enough
where is
for a
this?
federal highway.
Tell me where this is. Where you were talking about.
If you were at, say, Time and Doe, and you wanted to go across to Hudson's,
like
you got to walk all the way to Ranch Road 12, cut across,
or you play Frogger.
It's dangerous.
It is dangerous,
especially in the dark. I mean, it's like running across a freeway. You might think you got plenty of time, but those cars are going 50 miles an hour. They come up on you fast. But I understand the logistics. Do you think there's a chance that might happen in the future?
I think it'll be a long time.
Yeah.
We actually had, back when Calaterra was in its infancy, they explored possibly going under 290.
Oh, interesting.
And connecting. Yeah. So I've always kept that in the back of my mind. If someone's looking for something, it would be an interesting thing to do.
The first thing that came to mind to me was that year that in October we got so much rain and we had right here at 12 and 290 all the pumpkins floating down, and I could just see something like that underneath 290 where it's just this big flood.
Christmas on Mercer floods underneath 290.
For sure. So one of the questions that I had, and we've talked about this in last couple episodes that you were on, but just for clarification, because this may be the first time anybody's ever listening to you, hearing you, they want to know, clarify again, what powers does the mayor of Dripping Springs actually have? What do you actually do, Bill?
The main thing I do is run a private business.
Yeah, true.
Unfortunately. But with the city, the mayor doesn't have a lot of power, which is a good thing. I don't need the power and don't want
unpaid.
The power. It's an unpaid position. All of council is unpaid. It's volunteer. All we have the ability to do is guide the council meetings, make recommendations to staff, and staff has no problem telling me if it's a bad idea or if they don't think it will work and I can defend it, then we may bring it forward. But the mayor, I don't want to say it's an honorary role. It definitely is an honor. but it is a position with very, very little power per se.
Do you think that'll change eventually, where as Dripping Springs continues to grow, or is that set by some sort of governing? The mayor of every city is just kind of a figurehead, or is it just the way Dripping Springs is set up?
Dripping Springs is a Type A general law city, and we could have a civics government class right here, right now, and explain that, but a general law city, we are allowed to create ordinances and rules that the state allows us to. If the state doesn't say we can do it, we don't have any authority to do it. If we wanted to regulate something out in our ETJ, we cannot do that. The state says we can only regulate these type things, certain things. City limits, we cannot expand our city limits without someone coming to us and asking to be in our city limits.
That was the question,
That answers
too.
one of the questions from somebody that lives in Sawyer Ranch that said, hey, when will the city come and take us over, put us in the city limits so we can vote? And that can only happen if they request it.
They have to request it, and it has to be contiguous to, well, actually you can do some annexation now, but a home rule city, typically they're larger cities, the citizens have to come forward and ask us through a petition to create a home rule charter. And it's a long process, but it could be done. It just takes citizen involvement.
I remember you also saying that once you asked to get out of the ETJ, you can't. Was that right? Once you asked to get out of it, you can't get back in it, right? Is that it?
You're asking me, but you should be asking.
But wasn't that?
Isn't that it? What's
you
the
can
rule?
come back in, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. You can only ask and be guaranteed of release if a previous property owner or yourself had never requested to be in.
Okay, maybe that's where I got confused. Okay.
Yeah.
Similar to the Gateway Village mobile homes. That was a very controversial thing and still is. That property requested to be released from our ETJ. And they said, the law says you have to release us. We were able to go back 30 plus years and found a document that the property owner requested to be in.
Interesting.
And for that reason, we would not release.
That set precedent.
Interesting.
Okay.
I want to follow up on the question Michelle had about your power and responsibilities. Who is the most powerful paid person at the city then? Is it Ginger? Is it Michelle?
Our city staff, Ginger and Michelle and Sean now.
Sean, yeah.
Are all, Michelle is the leader.
Yeah.
She is our city administrator.
She knows everything going on.
And she knows the generational history. And we kind of watched her grow up. She was an intern right when I got on the Parks Board. And then we hired Ginger shortly after. But those three, they really run the city.
Yeah.
And they guide council. And we look at their thoughts and listen to them and try to work within it. But then we're the voice of the people, hopefully, and I get to hear from people pretty regularly.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I always like it. I like it.
Know.
But that really, if you were talking about power, our city staff, senior staff, are the ones that guide us a whole lot. Our department heads, they're fantastic. You know, we hired a new parks director, Andy, and he's been great. He's working hard to expand the parks, and we're seeing a lot of big changes in the parks here lately.
I've noticed a lot of those changes, some big improvements. Yeah, the soccer park over there, you got new signs, the trail's been improved, there's some things going on there.
Big skate park.
Yeah, the skate park. And
we haven't been there yet.
No, we haven't been there yet. Well, I've driven by, but then also the addition, they're raising funds right now for the sports club, the Dripping Springs Sports Club.
Yeah.
Which is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
That's in the city limits, right?
Is it
that Dripping Springs Sports
in
Club
Headwaters?
over there in front of Headwaters?
I visited with them. Yes, that is city limits.
City limits,
yes.
yeah. I want to circle back. You mentioned the Gateway Mobile Home Park.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an update on that?
About half of the people out there have been relocated to various spots. The developer of it has been helping tremendously on the financial side, but they've also gotten a lot of donations. Hometown Missions.
Oh, amazing.
Which we all love and
Yes.
appreciate their work.
Yeah.
They have taken this on. Carrie Naporiski
Yes.
has done a
We've
great
talked about
job
her
and
several
pushed it
times.
through.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a lot of people working to help all of these people, and they're valuable people to us. Everyone is, but this group is people that have worked hard for a living, and we just need to make sure we do whatever we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been a part of our community. They helped build what Dripping Springs is, and worked in our schools and our cities. And I think it's a wonderful thing that Hometown Missions and people like Carrie and yourself have really tried to spearhead and help these people.
Well, a lot of people in our community pulled together to help those folks. It was really wonderful to see how the city all came, the city community came together to help those
I hope
folks.
it's also a lesson to future developers. And in one sense, it's like, we may be growing, but we still have a small town mentality, and
I
we will
guarantee
rally.
you every developer that comes here will hear that story about the Gateway Mobile Home Park and know, hey, you guys just can't go willy-nilly like you can maybe in other places. You got to be sensitive to what the town is going to think about what you're doing. I think that's the Dripping Springs Sports Club invited us to a kind of a kickoff thing, and I think that's what they were doing is doing like a little soft rollout just to get feedback from the community so that the community embraced it when it kicks off. So, couple of projects going around, Bill, that I want to ask you about. It looks like there's some new apartments going up in front of the Polo Club.
Oh, yeah.
The
Arisa Springs, I think is the name of them.
Arisa Springs. Is that
Arisa.
city limits or ETJ?
It is not city limits, and it may have been released from the ETJ. I'm not even sure.
Do you know anything about that project?
It's a pretty good sized project. I know early on it was in the ETJ because we had parkland dedication, and we had to work through some issues there. They're putting in their own small wastewater system to handle it. It's frustrating with where it is. I drove home one afternoon and saw the land and was just shocked. And a friend of mine, Mark Keys, his family used to own that property, and he was just taken aback. He called me on my way home and was upset. And it was just one of those, there's no regulatory authority over it in that area.
Yeah, somebody posted on Facebook, somebody needs to tell the city we don't have enough water for that. And that kind of goes to one of my other questions for you is a lot of people think that the mayor and the city council can just willy-nilly decide if they want a project or not. And it's not like that at all.
Not like that at all.
Yeah.
It's not. And water, the city has a very, very limited amount of water. It's all purchased through the West Travis County PUA. The Water Supply Corp, which serves almost all of the city of Dripping Springs, they're the provider of water. And pretty much if an applicant goes to the Water Supply Corp and it's in their service area, and that the Water Supply Corp says, yes, we can serve you, at that point, they've got a will serve letter. We cannot challenge the Water Supply Corp under the rules of the state of Texas.
Yeah.
So we're then negotiating for the houses.
One of the things that I was seeing on social media, but my son also lives in Big Sky Ranch, and I have a friend of mine that lives in the Greenbelt side of Big Sky Ranch, and they were building that water treatment plant, and they really just kind of destroyed that area back there, all the trees and everything. So did the city have any type of say or input into them just decimating that area? It's really sad what it looks like now.
It is sad. And again, my phone was ringing on that one. Some of the work was done inappropriately without a permit. And some trees were taken out. We're working through a mitigation. Of course, how do you replace a 50-year-old tree?
Sure.
but we're working through to have some of that replaced. The wastewater plant is a direct result of probably one of your next questions of what's the status of the city's wastewater plant. That's why that one's being built.
Okay.
And we've got that one right in the middle of town, basically. There's going to be another one in Heritage that has already received their permit because of our plant not being ready. We're trying to get our permit so that we don't have these trees being cut down or plants in the middle of the town, some of them 250 feet from a homeowner.
Yeah.
They're going to have a wastewater plant.
Right.
But
these would be like little mini plants, kind of what they are for the community.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're serving that neighborhood.
Are you ready now to talk about the update on the lawsuit, on how that all went?
Or is going.
It's still going. We actually were heard before the Texas Supreme Court last month. It was a good hearing, but it's one of those things, each side gets to speak their piece, and the judges say, thank you very much.
And you wait.
We'll get back to you.
Oh.
And that's where you're at.
So no news is good news at this point, kind of.
Except for it's just been dragged out for freaking ever.
Because, you can't do anything, right?
Very little. We have our permit. We have a discharge permit in hand after the last court. Because of the lawsuit, I, as the mayor and council, agreed we don't want to start operating under that permit for the fear of if this thing gets pulled back by the Supreme Court and we've invested millions of dollars, what do we do?
Yeah, that's a smart thing to do.
Unraveling that's going to be difficult.
Yes, so we're being cautious about it. Typically, Supreme Court will meet, they'll hear a case, and it's all the way through the U.S. courts. Things are normally not ruled on immediately. Almost always they're ruled on by the time that term ends, which this term will end this end of spring.
Oh.
So we're very, very hopeful by the end of spring, if not sooner, this thing will be resolved one way or another.
God, last I heard it was supposed to be resolved by December, but now you're saying the spring, huh?
Is there anybody I can call right now?
Yeah.
Can I?
I ask that all the time.
The wheels of justice just grind along, don't they? They just barely move.
Any update on the music venue on Fitzhugh? Even though I know that's in the ETJ, but
not in the ETJ.
Oh, it's not. Wait.
It's not. There's no control that the city has. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Remember? Because Bill was like, "Woo,
yeah, I know.
Thank you. I don't have to mess with that
That's
one."
right.
But there's any movement on that? Do you know? Are they building it? Have you heard anything about
I
it?
do not know a thing.
Wow.
They do not speak to us.
It has-
They have no reason to.
Yeah.
They don't come to
It
us.
has fallen off the radar, and I don't know if that's because those guys moved on or if it's because the neighbors all finally said, there's just nothing we can do. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I would like to know if there was an update on that because it's been kind of silent here lately about it.
I noticed a couple of the people that have property around there that were really upset are selling their property now, and they're selling for a higher price than they would have if the venue wasn't coming. So it's probably going to be a good thing for them. Circling back to the wastewater. Do you know how many LUEs are still available in the city? Because I know you guys have been just very cautious about giving those out.
And for people that don't know what an LUE
Living
is.
unit equivalent.
Okay.
Which is basically
1-to-1.
1-to-1.
One LUE for one house.
Yes,
is typical.
Yep.
You get into restaurants and a McDonald's, maybe 15 LUEs, but it changes depending on the consumption of water.
Yep.
And it is less than 10 probably available.
Really?
Wow.
We held out what we call the onesies, twosies for the downtown area. If something were to be developed, we wanted to be able to serve them.
Yeah.
We're basically out of those now. So
Are you saving them for the downtown bathrooms?
they're coming next. And yes, that is part of what's taking up some of them.
Where
Hallelujah.
Where are those going?
The best way, we'll test people's history. We'll call it an alley right in front of the rinky-dink
Yep.
Domino, right by the old post office.
Okay.
right between that alley right there, there's going to be downtown restrooms. There'll be 4 restrooms right there, open to the public. We will probably be locking them late at night and things like that.
Are they going to have diaper changing stations in there?
I'm sure at least 1 or 2
I'm
will.
asking the questions that people would like to know. And are they going to be done by founders?
It is scheduled to be completed by April 1st.
Oh, awesome.
So, yes.
Okay.
That is, we actually awarded the contract last night at council.
That's awesome.
That's great.
The Historic Preservation Commission, they presented the design for that, and we unanimously approved it. So it's like, hallelujah, it's about time. People come downtown and they're, like on a Sunday, there's no bathrooms, there's very limited parking. A lot of the businesses close. If we're going to turn that around, you got to have parking and bathrooms. Tell us on the parking, what's happening
Well,
down
can I
there.
ask you a
Oh,
quick
go ahead.
question, just really quick? Who's going to be in charge of cleaning those bathrooms or making sure those bathrooms are clean?
City staff.
City staff. So just during the weekday?
We're going to have to address it. And
Okay.
no, they're going to have to be taken care of over the weekends. And our parks department has incorporated their own maintenance department now.
Okay.
And then we have a regular maintenance department. Before this happened, we didn't have anyone going up to the parks and checking on restrooms during the weekends. Now they have a staff that is going and checking on those. So this will be incorporated into more of that so that we're going to be checking them every day.
Yeah, because
a
I
couple
think
of times
that's
a day.
part of keeping Dripping Springs beautiful down there. And it just, if you're a tourist and you go into a grody restroom,
Without a doubt.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I asked about parking downtown because that's an issue too.
Yep, it is.
6-story parking garage, right?
There you go.
Right?
We have the plans for the parking. Before we do that, we're also working on the Stevenson building, which for those that hadn't been here as long, that's the old tax, or have been here long, that's the old tax office back behind the Masonic Lodge or to the side of it. We're going to be completely remodeling it, making it a music culture type place. Also going to have some parks offices there. Once that construction is well underway, the area right outside of that, where the Brewers Fest was held, that area will become a large parking lot. And we've already got the plans drawn for all of that. Keenan Smith has worked very hard with us to make it a nice project. I'm sure Steve has seen a lot of this on the drawings.
Yeah.
And it just takes a little time. Our TERS, our tax increment reinvestment zone money, will be used to build some of this. They've been great about dedicating funds to really reinvest in the downtown area.
And give us an update on that TERS project for the old Fitzhugh Road. When do you think we'll start to see construction on that?
And again, tell me what the acronym stands for.
Tax Reinvestment Zone?
Tax increment reinvestment
Yeah.
zone.
Okay. You and your acronyms, you two boys
I
right
don't
here.
come up with those. That's what they call them, Michelle.
Yeah. Old Fitzhugh is in final design stage, I believe. Y'all are asking me a lot of questions to hit on my memory
Look
here.
at that.
Yeah, you're doing great.
I think we will see something in FY25 on Old Fitzhugh starting. We've got to work through some relocation of water lines and things like that. So we're working through it.
That's good. I got a quick one for you. Over by the soccer park, there's the new apartment building, which looks like it's about 90% done behind the church and the YMCA. There's a new road going to go and connect Ranch Road 12 to 290, right? A loop road?
Yes.
And what is the project that is behind the soccer park there?
That will be known as Village Grove. And that will be the track, that subdivision, the road that you're referring to will come into 290 just this side of Good to Go oil change.
Right.
You can actually see the road right now as it's coming
Oh,
in. So
okay.
that will be where that subdivision is. It does not go all the way to 290. The roadway, we required them to acquire that land and get the road so it will go all the way through.
Okay.
The light that's currently at Sportsplex Road where Palomas or the miniature golf course is, that traffic light should go away. it will move a little further to the south where this road comes in.
By the south of the apartment
Apartments,
building.
right.
Yeah,
And
that
then
makes sense.
that will be the new light to cut around, which for those of y'all that have driven on Roger Hanks, it's a big difference now when you can go Roger Hanks and not have to go to 290 and 12. We're seeing a lot of use out of that road. We're seeing a lot of people turn on Lone Peak Way to cut over to 12.
Yep.
We're hoping this road will do the exact same thing.
I've heard a lot less accidents because of where our office building is. Daily, on the daily, we were hearing a couple of accidents a day,
Multiple times a day.
I've heard. So, kind of to piggyback on that, the Dripping Springs roads. One of our listeners asked, "Why are our roads in Dripping Springs proper in such bad shape?" And does Prop A passing that passed yesterday, does that help anything in Dripping Springs with the road congestion?
It will definitely help. Just having that much money to put towards county roads and state roads will definitely help. It's going to take some time, a good bit of time, because they're going to have to work through land acquisitions and things like that. And that's a county project. That's not a city project.
Okay.
As far as why are our roads in bad condition, our roads really are the roads that are not 290 and 12, and they're in our subdivisions. Those we've been working aggressively to repair and will continue to. Of course, we just did the Roger Hanks or Rob Shelton, which everybody was very upset, but that road at the intersection was so poorly constructed, it had just worn out from all the traffic. We've got to shut down roads to repair them and finding times to do it. We will be working on the other end of it at some point. We
Like
don't have it in the
College,
budget.
Hayes.
College and Hayes and all of those.
Please,
Yes,
please.
we're working on those, and they're getting better, but it's just a very slow and tedious project.
I know there's a new development going up on Hayes. Is there any requirement on that development to maybe contribute to because of the heavy equipment that's going to come in and out of those? That is a historic
She's
district.
talking about the Doucette project across from where I live, I think.
Yes.
Help me.
Yes.
It's,
Right by
the 2 acres. It's just west of Time and Doe.
Yes, yes.
Hayden. It used to be a Hayden,
property.
Yeah.
Hayden's property. That would not generate a need for, we couldn't require it.
Okay.
They are going to be doing some improvements, but it's not going to be a major overlay and replacement of the road.
I could just really see all that heavy concrete equipment and just construction equipment going back and forth is going to tear those roads up even more.
I think that whole section of Hayes, when all that construction is done, it's probably going to need to be redone because they've cut into it 5 or 6 times and overlaid it. But I know that'll happen eventually.
Yeah.
I think Michelle asked you a question. You were about to say something. We were talking about the loop roads. Do you remember what that
Yes.
was?
The loop, well, actually, it was addressing the apartments. that
Okay,
are
the
right
apartments.
there.
okay,
Yeah.
Those apartments will not exit. There's a driveway on 12. They will not be allowed to use that driveway.
Oh, is that an emergency
That's
access
an emergency
only?
access
Okay.
only. It's going to have to come back through Rob Shelton. And they can exit off Rob Shelton and enter off Rob Shelton, but they don't have the ability to exit off of 12, which is good because we all know how bad everything backs up and people would start cutting through the apartment. So we did that. And I do want to dispel a rumor real quick, if I may. I saw a social media post about the apartments were getting ready to host migrants because of all the city buses.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
I heard the rumor. I've actually checked it to make sure that's not happening with anyone that I can find. And the last I heard, Governor Abbott's not sending migrants to
Dripping
Texas,
Springs.
to Dripping Springs. But those are people here every weekend, and we're loving everybody that comes here.
Yeah, I think
That's funny.
one
that
of the other
the stuff that people
I
make
know
up.
people are just running rampant with rumors. I think one of the things that people are talking about also is the expansion of HEB. And do you happen to know any of that kind of timeline when that will start? And that's pretty
Because they
exciting.
purchased the project or the parcel to the east.
It's my understanding they have purchased property. HEB has been known to purchase property and sit on it for a very long time.
Nutty Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a firm timeline. They have been in touch, I believe, with the city staff. It's been on a very high level, and they're just working through the logistics of it and how we can do it.
Well, speaking of another rumor, I want you to dispel or confirm. Have you heard on social media, people were talking about we're getting a Target, whether it's in the city of Dripping or it's in the ETJ?
I have not heard. I visited with people from Target 4 years ago. And at that time, I believe it was the track where the Arisa Springs apartments are going in on 290.
Okay.
I don't know of anything else with Target
Currently, right now.
currently.
Okay.
I'm sure they're sniffing around.
Yep.
There's been some talk about how the city has gotten a little bit dragged down with kind of a bureaucracy, especially when it comes to construction permits and inspections. Can you tell us about maybe what's going on there and any improvements you might see in the future?
Permitting is always difficult. Inspections are difficult. You have two opposing views every time. When an inspector goes out, his job is to make sure everything's safe, and some of the contractors and developers are there to try to do it as inexpensively as possible. Mm-hmm. So it's always a difficult time. But we were using a third-party vendor for all of our inspections.
Oh, that's interesting.
2 years ago, I guess, 3 years.
Is that where the issue was happening in Big Sky Ranch, where things were saying they were being inspected and they weren't really being inspected?
There were some things reported along those lines, and we actually terminated a contract with one third party. We've added staff, so we have our own inspectors.
Oh, good.
And that is helping. It's also adding consistency. Some of these third parties are national companies, and you don't ever know who's showing up to do the inspections. And while there's a code book that says how things need to be done, every inspector is a little different. Mm-hmm. Now we're hoping with our own inspectors, people will know them, we'll see them all the time in town, and we'll have some better consistency. We're looking at ways to speed up and make the inspection process easier. It'll kind of be a concentric thing. If you're closer into downtown, like the historic district, we really need to start there because those buildings are all unique, and we need to maybe have one inspector assigned to those so that we get some good consistency and the relationship built with
and
these.
And know the nuances, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Each of those buildings has little things going on. So we'll start there looking at changes and seeing how we can do it. And we're starting those already. So hopefully we'll see some inspections getting better and better. And we've added a lot of tradesmen are on different boards and commissions, and they're giving us input as to what we can do to do better. Get the actual stuff.
I think if the attitude from the city, and I've gotten this from a lot of the people there when I've reached out to them, we're here to serve the people of our city. So what can we do to, we have a job to do, but we want to make your life easier. How can we both get what we need out of this relationship? That's a great attitude for them to have. How do you keep them focused on that? How do you keep the staff at the city focused on helping out the people that live here and work here?
I think it takes a little time, but as people see that most of these applicants are really trying to do it the right way, and they get to know them on a more personal level, they're going to be able to reach out when there's an issue instead of just doing an inspection, leaving a report somewhere, and then waiting 2 days to get back and things like that. So we're trying to really develop that culture to where it's a win-win for both sides, and the inspections become easier, and it's easier for the applicant.
Sure. And they're more likely to spend money here to do projects.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I have another question from one of our viewers. What is your vision for growth with a 230% projected increase in population in Hays County over the next 10 years? That's a big question, loaded question.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. My vision on growth is where are all the cars going to be and how are we going to handle it? That is my number one concern. And how do we safely get people around? It's one thing just sitting in traffic and, yeah, we can deal with traffic, but it creates anger and frustration, and then that creates the road rage issues and things like that. So we need to be cognizant of all these people. Our issue becomes, what can the city do to throttle it down enough to where we can manage it? And that's real hard with, as we talked about, home rule cities and general law. I have a vision that dripping's going to continue to grow. If we just stick our head in the sand and say, fine, stay in the ETJ, it's still going to grow, but there will be no control over it. Very, very little parkland will be brought into this equation. So I envision seeing parks. We have the Rathgaber Park that's coming online here very, very soon.
Yeah.
We're negotiating with the school district, so we have a shared use driveway there, hopefully up in that one. But we have to maintain some semblance of what we have now, the best that we can. And we need to keep the community feel.
Yeah.
And we're working to do that. A lot of people will say, oh, this isn't the same dripping. No, it's not. When I got here 30 years ago, I never envisioned a skate park.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, but yet it turned out I've gone up there regularly. It's used all the time.
And there was a lot of people that didn't want that at the beginning when it first was proposed, and now I think it's a wonderful thing. Yeah,
it is. And I didn't think, though, 30 years ago that Dripping Springs Ranch Park would ever be used.
Yeah.
And Todd Purcell had that vision, and still today, 30 years later, even though everybody's saying we've lost our culture, that building's as busy as it's ever been.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, we're just doing a lot of great things out there. They're added ice skating's coming back.
Oh, I
this
know.
year.
I saw that.
And it's an extended ice skating. It'll start the day before Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving, and it'll run all the way through January. So
that's pretty cool. I actually will applaud you at the city because we've had this explosive growth, and you guys have prioritized public spaces, park spaces, and the parks that have been added and the land that will be added is, I think, really, a good example is a skate park. That I guarantee you there are people moving here because they know their kids are into skating, and they go, it's a community that embraces taking care of our kids. And the Rathgaber Park, geez, that's going to be huge. That's going to be a wonderful thing.
I also heard we're getting it's like further down, but we're getting a roller skating rink or something further down.
Oh, God,
yeah,
I didn't
I know.
hear about that.
Yeah. So speaking of things that are in our control or out of our control, as far as the city, TxDOT and this plan to extend 290. A lot of people are saying, don't worry about it. It's going to be 10 years down the road. Any movement on TxDOT in that sense that we're going to get some real improvements to our road? I know there's a lot of property rights that they have to go through, eminent domain issues they have to go through, but any forward moving?
Latest,
the process between the current construction at the Wyandotte Kill and all the way up to headwaters, they're still working on that. I haven't heard any major updates. It's a slow process. The area between headwaters and, just the other side of Dripping on 290.
Like Henley area?
Not even that far.
Or it goes to like Roger Hanks, right?
Right past Roger Hanks, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
That area, and then we had this long conversation with TxDOT. I met with them and said, improving 290 doesn't do anything if you don't look at Ranch Road 12 from 150 up. I said Fitzhugh Road, but anywhere you got to go from 12 and get it outside the edge of Dripping.
Oops.
And at that point, I think they finally agreed we'll start the environmental on 12. So now they've incorporated that into their vision.
Okay.
And they understand the need for 290. When I visited with TxDOT, they really thought I was exaggerating that traffic was backing up to the other side of Onion Creek in the mornings on 12.
Yes.
Right.
Which for those of us that drive it, we know how far it backs up. And to get to the high school was taking almost 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're looking at how they can incorporate that. They are redesigning. If you went to any of the meetings, public meetings they held, they're working on a redesign of 12 and 290 in Dripping Springs to better help us, because they kind of underestimated what we need for Mercer.
Sure.
And to be able to get across 290 the way they had it drawn, you couldn't cross 290 to get to Mercer Street unless you went to 12.
Yeah.
So they agreed after they saw everything and read the numbers. So they're working on some redraft of that, and hopefully we'll be seeing that very soon.
I would love to see where Mercer dumps into 290 by the pharmacy there, something that blocks people from turning left, because that is a death intersection. You go, you're
that
coming
little
up
round
to,
of,
it's right directly
cut
across
through.
from Home Depot. You're coming up, the cars are going 50 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour, and somebody's trying to pull across 4 lanes of traffic to go left towards Austin. I have seen accidents, and I have seen almost accidents there like every week. Yeah, it's bad.
What I've never understood also is on 12 why by Sherwin-Williams why there wasn't a longer turning lane. So you've got these huge dips and
yeah, but I think that's just because of how much land is there. They're using up pretty much everything they have.
I'm going to hire those Cajun Navy guys over here, and I'm going to have them come over. They cleared all that North Carolina road. Yeah.
It could be done. But remember, there's also about a 30-inch oak tree.
Oh, yeah. There is a giant oak tree.
And we've put a lot of value. That was the whole issue we just talked about. And so we're going to lose some of these trees to fix the traffic problem, because the cars aren't going away, obviously. So there's things like that, and that's also a floodplain.
Yes.
As we know, the pumpkins crossed there.
The pumpkins.
So it's being looked at. I've asked the same thing numerous times, and it's just a matter of the state owns that land. They would have to acquire more land.
Interesting. Yeah, I was talking to Walt Smith last night, and I was asking him about a lot of the road issues and stuff like that. And he was saying that at one point, when people were talking or complaining about the Dripping Springs roads, he was getting a lot of calls, and there were signs that were put up that said county maintenance ends here, so that he was trying to help
people
field those
understand.
questions. Yeah, that this is where the county.
I think a lot of people are confused by who takes care of what.
Yeah,
roads.
what when you're mentioning 12 and 290, it's like, okay, so is TxDOT 290 and county is 12?
No,
So
12 is a state highway.
Okay.
12, and the county can do improvements, but they have to be done to state standards.
Okay.
And the county's not going to go purchase the right of way.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow.
I got a couple quick questions, and then I want to give you some time to talk about maybe some things we haven't covered. But affordable housing. Do you have any comments on affordable housing in Dripping Springs? A couple people asked me to ask you about that.
You're the realtor. What's affordable? That's the $1 million question. I sat through a meeting with a gentleman, and this was 4 or 5 years ago. He said, "Well, I paid $500,000. That's affordable to me."
Yeah, I think
relative,
it's more. It's more a house that's because a lot of our teachers that live here, unless they're double income and can't afford to live here.
I guess your argument could be the apartments and things like that are coming in here, but we're talking about home ownership.
Yeah,
too.
so I mean, I would say affordable would be somebody that's supporting our community that makes whatever $45,000-$50,000 a year. Can they afford to buy a house in Dripping Springs? If the average price of a house is $650,000, no, they can't afford that. So
no, I haven't bought a house in forever.
Yeah,
I bought my last home here 30 years ago, and I'm still in it. But it used to be about a 33% ratio is what it was for purchasing a home, and I still kind of think in those terms. I don't know if that's accurate anymore, but 2 people working, each of them making $60,000 a year, 120. They've got what, 40,000 at the most to spend on a house. House payments don't get that low in this town.
No, especially when you add on the property taxes, and if you bought recently and you got a 7% interest rate, it doesn't go very far.
Yeah, not till interest rates start lowering. One of the questions that I was getting from a couple of people was, are you going to be running again?
The election's a year away
Okay.
in May. And I don't think I will run again. I don't. Obviously, I haven't decided. It's too far out. But a lot of it's going to depend on my health, my family. My wife wouldn't know what to do if I was home on Tuesday nights, and I'm now working part-time, and here I am. Instead of being at home on my part-time, I'm still doing city business. But I've had a good run, and I've got grandkids now who are doing great things. Our school district, they have kind of a sponsorship bass team, bass fishing for middle school.
That's right. We're going to have that
that's
kiddo
kind of exciting.
on.
Yeah.
So my grandson's doing that, and I just want to do some more family stuff. But
Well, yeah,
we'll
where
see.
your priorities
When
should
do
be.
you have to declare if you're going to run for re-election or not?
I think it would be probably the middle of February of 26.
Okay.
So you got a little bit of time.
So I've got time.
Yeah.
I've got time.
I don't think you've got any pressure. What, Bill, what are the things that people are complaining to you about the most these days besides traffic, which I know is on the tip of
And
everybody's
water.
tongue? And
No,
water.
no
yeah.
traffic, no water. You
Yeah.
can't mention those.
Well, is there a certain topic that's going on right now that has kind of popped up that you've just taken a lot more heat for than you thought you would?
The water and wastewater, obviously, and traffic are the three big tickets. They've been on the table now for 6-7 years, all of them, and even longer than that on traffic. After that, we have a large contingency that are the business owners. They want us to do more to help improve businesses, the smaller shops downtown.
Sure.
And that needs to be our core area that we're working on, and that's what we're doing with the TERS and the downtown bathrooms and trying to get that to work. We also have heard a lot, all of our wedding venues and the breweries and things, those
Struggling.
they're starting to struggle a little bit, and we need to do more to promote that. We took over the visitor center a little over a year ago. Pam decided to retire, and it's done well. We've had our second Songwriters Festival this past week or month, and that seemed to work very well, and that's really growing with the tourism. So those are the main things I'm focusing on.
Yeah, I'd like to see more emphasis on the tourism because that just does.
Yeah.
That helps everybody here in town. Even though I know there's probably people, it might be crowded downtown, but it helps the business owners. It helps people in the community. It's good for all
I
of
do
us.
think there's a healthy balance because I am on a Wimberley type neighbors page and I listen to the complaints, what they are talking about in downtown Wimberley. It's that as a local, you can't even enjoy your own town. But I don't think that dripping, we're there yet. My daughter-in-law is from Napa, California, and her mother says, as a local, I can't even go out to dinner on a Saturday night without having reservations 2 months before because
In
the tours
Napa,
in
yeah.
Napa, California. Now, granted, Wimberley and or Dripping Springs is not Napa, California, but I think you're right. You know, tourism is very popular, very important to our growth, to our economy here in Dripping Springs. And, you know, we are the wedding capital of Texas, and that is fueled by tourism.
It is.
For sure.
It is. And it's really a fine line, like you said. And one of the bigger problems for me, and we may not realize it, we want to see the tourism of these type things, but many of our small businesses downtown are frustrated when we close Mercer Street for these events because they say their business drops off. Everybody stays in the street and doesn't come into their shop, and they actually lose money. So we've got
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a common theme that we hear.
I hear that, you know, okay, so if we're a tourist destination, then why are most of our businesses closed on Sundays on Mercer Street?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, you're wanting to wander around.
When we did the women's club historic walk, you know, I was at the Rinky Dink Domino Hall for that, and I was actually really surprised how few people were downtown on a beautiful Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't know where the disconnect is.
Yeah.
In trying, I know these are small shops, and many times it's a husband and wife, and maybe one employee. So, what day do they close so
Right.
that they can be rested and be with their family? And I think this world has changed so much. maybe we need to change and not be closed on Sundays or not be closed Saturday evenings and
maybe
take Monday off.
Maybe close Wednesday or something where the traffic, follow the traffic.
Well, Pigpen closes on Mondays, so
which I think makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's it must be frustrating because you put on a festival and 50,000 people come here, and then the businesses complain, well, people aren't coming into our business. It's like, I just put 50,000 people 25 feet from your front door. What can you do to get them to come in there?
I 100% agree with you. If people aren't coming into your store, that's on you.
Yeah.
You have 25,000 people. And I think, people have been talking about Founders, and has downtown Mercer outgrown Founders? And I say, my opinion is no. That's the charm of Founders, is that we're in the heart of Dripping Springs. And I think what you guys are doing is the bathrooms, the parking situation, and so on and so forth. And depending on what TxDOT does and what the county does, that's what is magical about Dripping Springs, is that you are able to go into your local coffee shop or your local little boutique and spend your money there. I think our businesses would gripe more if it was moved to Ranch Park.
Yeah. Has there been talk about that?
I hear people bring it up,
but there's not much of it.
To be blunt, I don't consider it.
Yeah,
I will not move Founders Day.
No,
I would fight it tooth and nail.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't do it, and that was one of the promises I made to Todd when I became mayor. He said, "We're not moving Founders Bill."
Yeah,
and so I don't want him coming back and haunting me either. No, these businesses work hard. And
of course they do.
I was blown away like you were, but the music festival on Friday evenings, it's not a big deal on Friday nights, but there's a lot of people, and we were actually going to close Mercer Friday night.
Well, it's for the safety too.
Right, but businesses were up in arms because it's also a home football game. And they say people shop before football games, but they're not going to come in, and it costs them money because they lost revenue. Year before last, I think we were playing Westlake here.
Okay.
But it's one of those things that you have to schedule these things so far in advance. The district doesn't have their schedules always set out.
Oh, yeah.
So what's a good weekend? This year it was, I think ACL was going on while we had, there was just a lot going on in a 20-mile radius. I don't know the answer. That's a real frustrating.
You get the parking situation figured out, then if we do have, a Drip versus Westlake or Lake Travis or something like that, then you can still shop. You'll have a place to park, and you can run over there and do your parking. But
Bill, what's something that we haven't asked you about that you want people to know?
Gosh. We've had a good conversation.
We've covered a lot. With a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I've got 4 pages of things right here. And, we talked about all of them. The things that are coming up, we talked about the ice skating that's going to be happening, and that's going to be a lot longer time. We're looking at having some of the preschools or elementary schools, because it'll be going on during school. Maybe they can have field trips and things.
Aww.
And we're going to have the tree lighting coming up. That'll be the first the first weekend of December.
Mm-hmm.
That we'll have that. So that'll be a big deal with Christmas on Mercer. They've got movie in the park now on November 30th. We're going to be the tree lighting and have a movie going on. So we've got a lot of these activities for the community. And those aren't really to bring in tourists. That's to reward our citizens that are here and make it a community event. And so we want to do that. We also are going to start having the Stars of Mercer and taking sponsorship for giant stars that we're going to have at 6 or 7 that local artists are creating. We've got that going on in the near future. I think y'all are involved.
The Dripping Springs Art League is doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, by the time this comes out, their gala will have been about a week ago. But yeah, they're doing some really cool stuff in Dripping.
They're doing a lot, and so we've got that going on. We're still working on a master plan for parks. We need to continue to add more parks, and the Rathgaver Park is going to be a big deal. We'll get that one moving. For everybody that does have questions on city business, I need to make everyone aware, City Hall is being remodeled. So
Oh,
we're
I'm
not
glad you
there
reminded me,
anymore.
yeah.
We're spread out all over town. We did buy the PEC building, the old PEC building. I've got a lot of staff over there now. We have staff out at Dripping Springs Ranch Park. We're having to work from home part of the time so that we can get it. Once City Hall is remodeled, it'll have a new council chamber that'll be very small, but we'll have room for many more employees and can handle what we have and be better organized with it. So those are all going on. What else was there?
Gosh, we covered a lot.
I'm glad to see that you guys are renovating City Hall because it still looks like a church when you walk in there. It's about time to redo that one.
It is. That Village Grove Road, the road that we talked about going from 12
from south of the apartment.
Yes.
Okay, that's going to be called Village Grove Road.
Well, no, I don't have the name on it.
Okay, gotcha.
But
It's going to be called Steve Mallet and Michelle Road.
Yeah,
right.
Mallet and Michelle Road. Their goal is to have that road open by May.
Really?
Oh, wow.
So
That's great.
They're kind of rock and rolling on
Yeah,
that
they
one.
are.
And that would be great to get that opened up. And then I kind of worry about it. I know we have all this traffic in downtown Dripping. If we make all these shortcuts to go around Dripping, I don't want our businesses to then have a problem and not have enough people. So
I actually think it's the opposite, Bill, because I think people are more likely to come downtown if they know it's not going to be gridlocked down there.
If they can get in and out.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, let's go down to Pigpen and get some tacos. People are like, nah, school got out. We don't want to go down there. But go ahead. What else?
Yep. There's another new development, the Wild Ridge development, which will be up on top of the hill behind the water tower, back that direction. That road is going to be, there's going to be a road there that will cut through from 290 and will go almost all the way out to the Hill Ranch and go through Anarene or Double L.
The Hill Ranch is north of the elementary school?
Yes, that was part of the Hill Ranch originally, the elementary school. And the family worked with the district on that years ago.
Yeah.
And they've been great to us. And John Hill's family has been fantastic.
Yeah.
They're still out here and we're school teachers.
Yeah.
So that's another road that will be several years, but that one's coming up before we know it.
We just need to get the people that are just trying to get through town and get home or whatever have alternate ways to go where they don't have to go through 12 and 290. If we can get that to happen, things will get a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. I think that people need to realize that Dripping Springs still is the best little hill country town under these.
And it's not a secret anymore.
No, and these dark skies and the big old stars, and that we like to stay true to, we're growing, but we like to stay true to our roots. And, Bill, I really personally appreciate all your volunteer time and effort that you have dedicated to the city. And yeah, you really have. And there's so much that people don't understand that goes into what your job is and exactly what the city does, what's in the city's control and what's out of the city's control. But as long as I've known you, you've kind of had an open door policy and you're always available by email or you see you on the street. And
you don't duck things. You you address things head on and you try and be helpful. And I've always appreciated that. I've tried to never bother you with trivial stuff, but when it gets to the point where I thought, man, I don't know what else to do, I reach out to you, you get it figured out. I've always appreciated that. My last question for you, I think we could wrap up with this. What's been your favorite part of being a mayor and your least favorite part?
The favorite part, without a doubt, is, believe it or not, the kids.
Oh, yeah?
Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, about once or twice a year, one of the packs will call and, will the mayor come speak to us? Oh. And that is just the greatest time. And it's actually, I thought it'd be fun with the kids, and it actually turned out to be such an educational experience because I didn't realize all the moms still went to all the Cub Scouts. And so they learned a lot. Sure. And it's a much more relaxed and enjoyable time. So that has been my most favorite time.
That's great.
The hardest thing for me is in council meetings, we have citizen communication. And that's a time for any citizen to speak to us on any item they would like to talk about. But people don't understand by law, we cannot take any action. All I can do is correct them if they're stating something as a fact. No, that's not true. And then it looks like I'm being defensive.
Sure.
Yeah.
And to not be able to respond to people on that part of a meeting is a very difficult, because they took time out of their evening to come up and tell us something that's important to them. And I always try to make it a point, put it in writing, get it to our staff, send it to me. For those of you that don't know, you can go to the city website. All of the council members' emails address is there. Mine is there. I will caution everybody, if you email every city council member, you will not get a response from everyone, because there's a violation of open meetings. But I will respond, or one of the council members will always respond.
Yeah. I think that you've done a great job with that. Well, Bill, we've taken over an hour of your time, and I appreciate every minute of it. Every time you've come in, you've just given us so much great information, and I thank you for everything you've done for the city over the years.
Well, thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to have you on again before the end of your term.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that. Thanks a lot, Bill.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Get to know your local full-service Generac dealer.
Cody and Dylan with Nomic Power Solutions are a veteran-owned, Texas-based Generac dealer and installer.
Offering low monthly payment options, it's never been easier to gain independence from the grid.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Turnkey service including design, plumbing, electrical, and permits.
They even offer set it and forget it maintenance plans. Nomic Power Solutions.
Protect your home. Protect your family. Stay ready.
Ready to turn your land dreams into reality? Look no further than Capital Farm Credit.
Need a loan for your perfect piece of land? Capital Farm Credit is there for you.
Their dedicated team will tailor a loan to fit your unique needs, because your dreams are their priority.
Capital Farm Credit. Your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
This show has been brought to you in part by the real estate pros at the Mallet Integrity Team. When you're looking to buy or sell, you need them on your side. Why settle for less when you can have real estate done right? Give them a call at 512-829-2062 or get more info at malletintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.